Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to have you with us. It's Wednesday, August 5th, 2026. I am J.R. Giddings. Welcome to the Reset Talk Show. This show changes the conversation. This platform will help to reset and reshape the nation and the world. Here's a preview of the top stories we are following. The war in Iran is in its fifth month, and confusion remains about the progress, if any, is being made. Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke joins the show with the latest details. Then the president and the CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, is here to tell us why he stands with Nolan Wells' family and the significance of standing with them. Then we go across the world to Guyana, South America, where we're being joined by parliamentarian MP Dexter Todd. He will tell us about the importance of the raising of MV Burima to the surface. MV Burima sunk off the coast of Guyana less than 2 weeks ago. All of this and more coming up. You're listening to and watching the Reset Talk Show. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information, I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate. Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Eli Cohen, and I'm excited to introduce you to the new location of the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council Social Service Center. This is where you can continue to get help for seniors with Medicare, Social Security, any problems with SCREE applications and renewals. We have our health navigator who can provide you with health insurance for your family. We have Medicaid and SNAP applications, of course, and our well-known free business counseling for small businesses. So we're looking forward to greeting you at our new location. We're at the corner of Kingston Avenue and Lefferts Avenue in Brooklyn. Call me, Rabbi Eli Cohen, 718-771-9000, and we're here to serve you.
Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. We have a great show for you this week. Let's begin with the war in Iran. The US it's been 5 months since we've been in this war, and confusion remains about the progress, if any, is being made. We have Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who will be joining us this morning, along with our powerhouse panel. Welcome in, panel, Dr. Giddings, Donatello. When the Congresswoman jumps on, we will definitely bring her right in. Let's lead with you, Dr. Giddings. Do you see a way out of this war?
Good morning, JR, Donatella, listeners. It's good to be here. I'm going to correct you a little bit here. We're in the 6th month of this war. Okay, it started February 28th, and we're in August. So the 5th month ended in July. Anyway, it's tough to say. I mean, with the president's just circular talk going on and on, it's really difficult. I think that if he probably stopped talking, we would probably make some progress, although I'm not really sure that we have the correct negotiators out there. You know, when we're talking about Steve Witkoff, who's a real estate mogul, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who's pretty much there just to do business deals as far as I've seen. But, you know, he keeps going back and forth. There's a shifting timeline. From day 8, they won the war. Then day 39, the war was complete. And he just keeps going back and forth. He says that he has talks with Iranians. The Iranians are saying that they're not talking with him. And they just view all of this rhetoric as weakness. They know they have control. They have control of the Strait of Hormuz. That is controlling the whole global economy. And even the allies fear that, you know, we're going to some sort of a strategic defeat. So it's difficult to say, is there an out? Because just remember, before the war started, before Trump started this war of choice, which was illegal, by the way, because he never really got consent from the Congress and against the Constitution, the Strait of Hormuz was open. We didn't have any of these issues. And so all of his goals, per se, quote unquote, of regime change and helping the Iranian people and, you know, not having a nuclear weapon. I mean, they didn't have a nuclear weapon in the first place. And so, as I've said several times on this show before, if he didn't abandon the MOU that was the JCPOA that was really the deal that was made by Obama in 2015 and 2018, he abandoned it. And at that point, we really had no nuclear material. They were in that whole contract. They got rid of 2/3 of their centrifuges, 98% of their uranium. They really had a good deal. And so had he kept to that, we would have been in a great position. Now he started the war, the strait is closed, and now that's the negotiating factor actually right now. We're not even getting to the whole nuclear question. We're still talking about opening the strait, and now they're trying to choke off waterways in the Red Sea. So it seems like it's just getting worse. I mean, and for him to come out every other day, we're having talks, we're close, we're making a deal. No one believes it. In fact, Iran is actually setting the pace of this war. And so his reversal in not striking was really upheld by the allies. The allies told him, no, don't do that. We really need to keep these talks going. And even General Kane, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he said, you know, we can do it, but if you do it, you're going to eliminate a lot of the munitions, the interceptors that we have right now. So we are in a dire strait. We're, you know, in between a rock and a hard place as far as I can see. And basically, we're really, you know, just at Iran's mercy. I mean, I'm not saying that anything that we've done in strikes and things like that haven't hurt them, but they are the type of people that will resist anything. They can tolerate anything, and they want to tolerate stuff right now. I mean, I think that there's intel that they've actually struck some of our water facilities in Minnesota and several other states. And then our president is saying that it was Governor Walz of Minnesota that's responsible for that. I mean, some of the things that are going on is so crazy. I mean, since he's been in office, everything is destroyed. He brought measles back. We've got no USAID, that's destroyed, and lots of millions of kids are suffering and hungry. He's destroyed the Department of Education. The military, you might as well say, with Pete Hegseth at the helm. What else? Department of Justice. The economy, just our world standing. Everything has gone south. So we're in a very difficult position, and the allies just see dysfunction and vulnerability from the war. And basically, Iran has had the upper hand. So I'll stop there for now, but those are quite a few of my thoughts about what's going on with this war.
Thank you, Dr. Giddings, for your perspective. Audience, tell a friend to tell a friend. We have Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke joining us momentarily as we talk about the war in Iran. There is so much to talk about. The latest briefing coming from the White House this morning is that a deal is imminent. It could happen sometime today. Donatella, good morning and welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing well, considering all the trending topics that we were covering within the first 5 or 6 minutes of the show.
Well, Donatella, we're talking about this war that's been going on for 6 months in Iran. Do you see any progress being made, if any?
Well, I think what I see, and also considering all the great points that Dr. J.R Giddings just made, I would have to say I don't really. I guess what are the main things that I think about? I posed a couple questions to myself, and I think if we could answer those questions, we would know really kind of where we're standing. And one of the things I think about is, can the military actually create lasting peace at this point, or does it just simply postpone another conflict? And waking up this morning, as Dr. Giddings pointed out, and hearing that there have been cyber attacks against our waterways and our waste systems, that's huge. I think in Michigan, there's something like 30 different systems that were attacked. And then to hear our sitting president turn around and make it something internally within that state, we already know that the president is not fond of Minnesota, right? So I think that's part of it. You can just think and remember back to all of the ICE activity in Minnesota. And the first thing that clicked in my head is, oh my goodness, I need to order a couple of cases of water. That's the first thing that I thought about, because water is the backbone of almost everything that we have. If we don't have safe drinking water, and then you think about the other the viruses that are going on right now and the contamination of other food products that we have, it's really kind of crazy. And then the other thing, so you have the CISA, the FBI, and the EPA are now coming out and they're saying, hey, we've been telling you already that the utilities are an ongoing Iranian affiliate cyber attack. These things could happen. And I'm just really looking forward to hearing from a source, our Congresswoman, when she joins, what she thinks about the strategic plans of where we are and where we're moving forward. And I feel like things are just boiling to a top as we reach the midterms?
Well, Donatella, I'm happy that you even mentioned the midterms because I, according to reports, all the pundits across the country, uh, what's happening with this war could determine the outcome of the midterms. Um,
Absolutely.
as the Congresswoman is about to join, I think that's major. Um, Being able to excel the Democrats, okay, in the midterms, win the Senate and the House. I think that's major. Um, Dr. Giddings, just expand for a little bit on the midterms. I mean, through your lens, how do you see the midterms shaping up? We see Democrats are really excelling, and we're less than 100 days out from the midterms. What are your thoughts on that?
Actually, I think we're in a very good position for the midterms. I think the limiting factor is making sure everybody gets out there and votes. Although the administration has been trying to subvert our vote, I think that going forward from today, I believe once you're 90 days out, they can't do anything to the voter rolls. Okay, so that's like, yay, happy days, because that they've been trying to rig the elections, trying to get voter rolls from various states. I believe it's been in court, and I believe they've won none. The Dems have won like 20 cases. I think they have like 30 cases in court right now, talking about trying to get the voter rolls from the various states. And again, this is a whole the federal trying to interject themselves into state elections. So I think that this is going very well. Although the Supreme Court did give them a little bit of an assist with when they changed the whole campaign financing deal recently. I think it was in June that they struck down those federal limits. And so basically the RNC, they have a lot more money than the DNC. And so they can contribute any number of dollars to their candidates. And so they're thinking that if they spend all this money to do commercials, etc. I don't know what commercials they're going to run anyway, because they're underwater in every area. The economy, they're underwater on everything. So I'm not sure what. I guess it's just going to be negative ads against the candidates. That's exactly what they can do. But they have the upper hand with the money.
Dr. Giddings, I sorry to interject, but we have the president and the CEO of the National Urban League. He has a hard out at 10:29, so I would just like to bring him in for a minute. Good morning. Welcome back to the Reset Talk Show.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning to all of you. Thank you.
I am well. Before we lean in on the other topic, Mark, what are your impressions about the midterms and where the Democrats stand?
I think the midterms remain highly competitive. I think anyone who suggests that the Democrats have it in the bag are absolutely wrong. I think it's going to be very competitive, and it's going to get very contested. I do not put it past the GOP and their allies to try to play games, to try to suppress the vote. So we're going to need to be diligent and focus heavily on turnout. The issue is turnout, getting people to vote in large numbers. Now, in 24, Black voter turnout was down. It was below where it was in 20. It was below where it was in 12 and 08. We've got to have Obama-like turnout in these midterms to make our voices heard. Is there a slight advantage to the Democrats? Yes, because of the lack of popularity and the pain that so many people are feeling in their pocketbooks, in their purses, in their everyday lives. So there's an advantage, but this is still a toss-up in my estimation.
Thank you. Audience, if you're just joining us, we have the president and the CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, joining us this morning. Of course, we're talking about, so many concerns, and
Yes.
he is so well-rounded. It's important for us to get his take. Could you also bring in Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, if she's backstage? It's important that we just remain on this topic for 1 minute, Mark. As you know, we are in the sixth month of the war in Iran. And the latest reports are that something is imminent. Something could happen any minute now. Can you speak to that?
We've heard that a deal is imminent every other week for the last several months. A deal is imminent. Something is imminent. The question is what is imminent a real deal? Or if it is simply a desperation move to get the Straits of Hormuz back open. This war, unauthorized by Congress, ill-advised, is costing the American taxpayer $2 billion a day. $2 billion that can be spent on healthcare, on housing, on educating our children. The priority of going to war with Iran, Mr. Trump being goaded by Mr. Netanyahu into an ill-advised war that none of the experts in the Department of Defense or in the foreign policy community or in the State Department recommended nor supported this war, because it was foreseeable that the response of the Iranians would be to control the Straits of Hormuz and wreak havoc not only on the American economy, but on the global economy, because of the importance of those straits, not only for oil, but for commerce generally. I think the war is an absolute mistake. President Obama put a deal together through diplomacy. It was trashed by Mr. Trump. The bar for him is to get a better deal, not the same deal, not a lesser deal, but a better deal. And so this war is ill-advised. It is unauthorized. 70% of the American people are opposed to this war, do not think it is a necessary war. And I just really, really believe that once again, we see America's priorities misaligned. Right. We should be focused on affordability, on housing, on healthcare, on the cost of gas, the things we need to make ourselves domestically strong and sustainable as a country, not these escapades abroad. We heard 20 years ago that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. We were goaded into that war. We found out they didn't, that it was faulty intelligence. And after we did a substantial amount of destruction, cost the lives of many of our soldiers, sailors, and airmen, and then we had to commit billions to rebuild the place, that this looks like a repeat performance to a failed war 20 years ago. Nobody wants to talk about it. It was ill-advised then, and it's ill-advised now.
I really want to thank you for bringing perspective and so many different angles to the forefront this morning. I think it's important that our listeners and viewers understand where we are, and getting the right information is everything. We're going to pivot a little bit because there's so many trending topics in the news right now. But audience, again, if you're joining us, we have the president and CEO of the National Urban League here with us. Mark, you stood with civil rights attorney Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, along with the parents of of course, the Nolan Wells. Um, what can you tell us through your lens why we can't let this story told away?
So the Nolan Wells case and the other two cases, very straightforward, are instances where young black men lost their lives under questionable circumstances. And I say how much we appreciate Ben Crump and his legal team and their ability to bring attention to these cases and the pursuit of justice. Justice means getting the truth. What happened to Nolan Wells? What happened to the other two young men? In every case, there are suspicious circumstances. There are missing data from phones. There's the wiping and erasure of things that were on the phones. There's changing stories. And also in these cases, we see the justice system not being aggressive in pursuing the truth. So Ben Crump was very clear when we had our press conference in Nashville that the families have not made a judgment, are not condemning anyone, not convicting anyone, but neither are they exonerating or acquitting anyone. The quest is for truth, and the quest is for transparency and indeed fairness. And we simply, as a community, uh, I don't think it's difficult to feel that pain. I have a young son in his early 20s, three nephews in their early 20s. Uh, these young men, the pain these parents feel, the absolute pain that will never, ever, ever be erased. But we got to help them get truth and justice as to what happened to their sons. And I think the community needs to continue to elevate this case and stand with Ben Crump and the civil rights community. We're standing with Ben, Reverend Al, NAA. All of us have stood together with these families. These families are grieving. These families are in pain. These are dignified families. These are dignified parents. Raised their sons well, loved their sons. And all of a sudden, they don't come home from a social outing. So we got to stand with them, and we will stand with them, and I will stand with them. There's a rally in favor of Nolan Wells in August in Biloxi, Mississippi. He's from Ocean Springs. That's sort of on the I-10 corridor, which runs between New Orleans and Mobile. And the idea is to bring attention, not to make early judgments, but to demand justice and fairness. And I appreciate
Mark,
you all paying attention to the case and you all continuing to bring light to the case. That's what we all have to do in this instance.
Mark, you met with Nolan's parents. Can you share with us what that moment was like, meeting Christine Wells Wansley and Elmore Wansley?
I will tell you, it brings you to tears. The feeling, you feel the pain, you feel the sense of loss. And all of a sudden, the spotlight is cast on these families. And when the spotlight is cast on these families, there are going to be those of us that support these families. But there are going to be those that cast aspersions, that cast criticism, that question their motives. That's why we've got to stand with these families in a very strong way throughout this ordeal that they're going through. All three of these families, and these are wonderful parents who raised their child well, to be a responsible young man, a responsible young black man, I might add, in these times. He was a football player, popular, friendly, well-liked. All I say to people is put yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely.
My God. My God. I think that press conference that took place in Nashville was as emotional an experience as I have ever had in my work over the years, because it wasn't one family, it was three families. Three families. Let's stand with them. Let's continue to bring attention to them. And I just say, I'm thankful for a lawyer of Ben Crump's caliber and courage. He's, whether it was George Floyd or Trayvon Martin or Breonna Taylor, all throughout, Ben has managed to give voice to the families and the victims of injustice and violence. So I want to, give my great respect, and also, obviously, our good friend, colleague, and brother, Al Sharpton, who always stands with the victims of violence in a profound and important way. And, we're all standing together.
Mark, you have to jump off, but I just want to give Dr. Giddings and, of course, Donatella 1 minute, guys. He has to jump. Just ask the president and the CEO of the National Urban League, who is standing with Nolan Wells' family and the other three families. Quickly, a question. Dr. Giddings, I see that the Congressman is joining us. Quickly, he has to go, and the Congresswoman is here.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. Good morning, Congresswoman. Good morning, Mark Morial. Yeah, so glad that a lot of attention is being given to this case. I mean, as you well know, there's a lot of Black youth in the South that go missing, something like 33%. So hopefully with the highlight on this case and the other cases you're talking about will help to bring some attention to that aspect of it. I don't know what you think about that thing. Of course, the anguish that the parents are feeling is insurmountable, and I sympathize with them. So giving a highlight to this type of to Nolan and his situation, hopefully it brings more attention to the other cases that are not highlighted as much.
Since that was more of a statement, I'm just going to ask you very quickly, Mr. Mortal. Hi, Congresswoman. Very quickly, Mr. Mortal, can you tell us, as constituents throughout the nation, as we watch this live stream, how can we support you and your effort and Ben Crump to support the family of Nolan Wells?
So very importantly, the power of social media to continue to make calls for justice and transparency. And we will continue to be active on social media. Ben Crump will on behalf of the families. Of course, Reverend Al will. I think retweeting and reposting what we indeed say is an important way. But I also think keeping these families in prayer. Keeping these families in prayer. We should keep them in prayer daily. We should keep them in prayer in our churches, and all victims, families who've been victimized by violence, particularly, unjustified violence and unjustified circumstances. And I think that's the second thing that we need to do. But we also have to remind our young people this term, stay woke, comes from the early part of the 20th century, when our parents told our young people to stay woke because they were concerned about the Klan and violence directed against Black people in the South. And so the parents would say to their young people, when you go out, stay woke, which means to stay aware, to be vigilant. And it means to be very careful about who you socialize with, who you hang out with, where you go. Uh, that's an important part of this too, because sometimes some of your friends may not observe the same protocols, do
Absolutely.
care that you do or that you were raised with. So, got to be aware. Sometimes you're invited to go places with a group of strangers. You may be family, they may be friends in school. Sometimes it may be better to say no.
Thank you. I
Stay woke.
appreciate that knowledge. Yes, stay woke. And I just want to add, it's not just our young people, because as you look at what's happening around the nation, and I think um, this story centering around the Wells family is also showing similar stories in other states at varying age groups. And being someone who also grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood or attended predominantly white schools, we forget that level of confidence as a young person we feel inside these groups. And so while we're talking to our young people, let's not also forget some of our more senior individuals. This can happen to anyone, anywhere, and it's just a horrible situation. And I really appreciate your time here with us today.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm going to hop. I've got another meeting to participate in, but look forward to coming back. And thank all of you
And,
all. And Congresswoman
and
Clark, know that Joyce Beatty of the CBC stood with us in Nashville. And we know the CBC is strongly supporting the Wells family and all of these families as well. So good to see you this
and
morning.
Mark, it's so important. We're doing our part as a platform, but we would love to get Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, or even one of the parents as we spread the word.
I'm
just putting
certain
that.
we'll work with you. We'll work with you to try to make that happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome in, Congresswoman Clark, and how are you this morning?
You're muted.
I think she might be still having Wi-Fi because she's not talking.
I am talking. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, ma'am, we can.
Now we can hear you. Now we can definitely hear you.
I changed location to make sure that my Wi-Fi.
I
think there's a
audience,
delay.
we have them.
It is, but we will hesitate and listen.
Yeah, audience, we have Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clark here. She represents New York's 9th Congressional District in Brooklyn. Congresswoman, how are you? But before we get into the midterms,
okay, I don't think we're getting a clear signal, so I'm gonna have to jump off and jump back on, guys. Sorry about this.
Okay, and we will take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will come back with Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clark. So much to talk about this morning. We'll take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
At Roger Victor Archibald Civil Rights and Personal Injury Attorneys, we are family.
No matter what the case is, we go fight it. If you're looking for justice, you will get it. Roger will treat you like you is VIP. Come join you with the team, cause in this love for we treat you like family. Winning millions for clients since 1991. Family. Working together here as one, yeah. Family. So call us today at 718-237-1111 or visit our website at BrooklynATTY.com. From the shores of the Caribbean to the United States Courthouse, where clients are treated like people and not simply cases. Call us if you have a case involving police brutality, medical malpractice, construction accidents, automobile accidents, and all other personal injuries.
This is Attorney Roger Archibald. Call me today at 718-237-1111. We are family.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information, I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate. Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. On this day, okay, August 5th, there are so many trending stories going on in the news. We are here to bring it to you, to bring different angles and to disseminate the information. Once again, we have Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke here with us. She represents New York's 9th Congressional District. Good morning again, Congresswoman. How are you?
Good morning, JR. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Wonderful.
You gotta love you, Congresswoman. You stick with it.
I do till the end.
You continue to stick with us. Before we shift into the midterms, we just heard from the president and CEO of the National Urban League, and when we look at where we are in this country, a lot of racism still plays a role. So as we talk about Nolan Wells, what is your reaction to that case? I know you also have nephews, and it's important that we lean in on that topic. I would just like to end, that segment with your thoughts.
Well, I stand with Nolan's family. His mother has been just through her grief, an extreme advocate to find out, the truth of what happened with her son. This case is extremely concerning, particularly given the history of Mississippi and its racism, its hostility towards Black males, whether they're children or they're adults. And so we, as a Congressional Black Caucus, me as a member of the House of Representatives representing the 9th District of New York, want to know and see the transparency of an investigation that gets to the bottom of how Nolan lost his life, how so-called friends could have left him in an environment where they all came together to celebrate on the 4th of July.
Congresswoman, well said as always. We're at a pivotal point in this country. What's happening right now is the war in Iran. It has had an amazing negative effect on the country. Do you see us having a way out of this war? Do you see any progress being made?
Not under the Trump administration. It's very clear to me that they had no real understanding of the capabilities of Iran. They did rushed into an unsanctioned war with this nation, never came to the United States Congress, which under the Constitution is the only authority that can declare war on another nation. And unfortunately, we are all being dragged through a very costly adventure, if you will, of this Trump administration. Costly in lives lost that have been distorted by the Department of Defense. Costly in terms of the munitions used to um, execute on this war. And it's very, very concerning. We know that as a result of that, there's been an embargo on oil that has made it very difficult for there to be any stability in our economy. This has been a boondoggle under the Trump administration, and we are deeply disturbed by what is taking place.
Well, Congresswoman, the war is really have us as a nation upside down, and I mean upside down. The economy has gone left. Oil and gas prices are mounting. The American people don't want this war. So going into the midterms, how do you think the Democratic Party stands with the midterms less than 100 days from now?
Well, I think that with the momentum and the wind is in our sails. We are in a great position as long as we stay focused. Our candidates are doing extremely well in the battle against the Republican Party. As you know, I'm a Democrat, and I think the American people understand that the only way to curb the rogue nature of the Trump administration is for us to change the party structure. We cannot have one party rule in America, and because clearly colleagues in the Republican Party have lost their moral compass and are fearful of Donald Trump. As a result of that, we are being dragged into a needless war. Our cost of living continue to escalate. You know, it's not just about the oil. It's about everything that is availed to the American people as a result of us having a modern day civil society. So truckers are are being taxed more as a result of what is taking place. And anything that is trucked into our communities then have to eat the cost of that, which means it's passed on to the consumers. You add to that the tariff that Donald Trump continues to weaponize against allies, which has also cost us dearly. You know, the United States does not manufacture as much as it used to, even a decade ago. We rely on our trade arrangements with nations around the world. And here we are with a president that is trying to bully people into his vision of what the United States might can bring us. And right now, might has not made right. Might has made it difficult for the American people to keep their head above water.
Congresswoman, as we continue to talk about where we are in this country, what's the one thing that you think will make a difference for the American citizens, as over and over you hear people not happy with where we are with this war? What's the one thing you want to see happen from
I want to see Democrats gain the majority in the House of Representatives in the United States Senate. Because as long as you have one party rule in Washington, D.C., these atrocities, that's what I call them, atrocities will continue and will persist. And it gives even more credence and boldness in the actions of Donald Trump. It will only encourage him to continue down this path and to escalate. Remember, in the midst of all of this, Donald Trump and his family are making billions of dollars, leveraging his seat as president of the United States. There's a lot of extortion taking place. There's a lot of corruption going on. We have got to bring an end to this. And at the same time, remember, there are massive cuts to our social safety net that are about to kick in right after these midterm elections. They intentionally passed a bill that would trigger all of these horrible cuts to whether it's our health care, whether it's our access to food through SNAP benefits, that will kick into overdrive right after this. We need to be able to arrest that. We need to be able to bring transparency to the American people, and gear up for the next presidential election. We need to be able to pass legislation in the House of Representatives that counteracts all of the horrific policies that are being implemented through Project 2025 right now. You know, for Black communities around this country, this anti-DEI movement has meant the shedding of jobs and opportunities, of educational advancement for Black people in America. Add to that the disastrous way in which the administration has gone about this anti-immigrant movement, the lack of humanity that they have shown through the weaponization of ICE, the detention of individuals who are here adding value to our communities, are not criminal in their activities, but are losing their lives, losing their livelihoods, are being split up from their families. All of this is taking place simultaneously, and the American people need a break. We need we need relief, and the Democrats are prepared to do everything that needs to be done to halt what is taking place.
Point well taken there, Congresswoman. If the count is 23 people have died in ICE custody this year, the latest being Edward Lopez Cornejo. And the battle continues on many fronts. What do you tell our immigrants of this country? What's your best advice to them?
Well, right now, it's up to us who are citizens. We have to stand in the gap for those who don't have the right to vote, for those who are here under temporary protected status that has been summarily stripped away from them, from those who have built a life with families and community, with business and opportunity that has made this nation stronger by their presence. We have to stand up for them. What we are witnessing in the streets of America should never have ever occurred. People being gunned down, people dragged from their homes, the indignities under which a masked paramilitary operation is taking place through the use of ICE. And it has been horrific. So what I'm saying to our community is that those of us who have the moral compass and understanding that our communities have been made stronger by the presence of those who are here under temporary protected status, those who are in the process of actually following the rules to adjust their status, that we need to stand up for them in this moment. And that means going out to vote. That is the greatest thing that we can do in this season to make a difference and to arrest all of the madness that is taking place and to hold people accountable. This cannot continue without people being held accountable for the egregious way in which they have treated the American people.
You're so spot on. Welcome in, Professor Griffith. Our Congresswoman is here. She has 2 minutes, and you're in the nick of time. As we talk about the midterms, the war in Iran, ICE, Is there anything that you would like to add to the conversation?
I just want to reinforce a little an aspect of what I heard from the congressman, and that is the importance of the people who, like us, are citizens and eligible to vote to stand up, going out to vote. But before you can go out to vote, there's some things you need to do to be able to go out to vote. And sadly enough, I think too many of our people, not only Caribbean and Caribbean descent, but other general black folk, don't want to invest the time in those things that you need to do. You need to get registered. It is so easy to register at your library, at your DMV, online. Take the few minutes needed to register. You cannot vote unless you registered. You know, way back in the 80s, there was a saying with regard to the lottery, you got to be in it to win it. Well, you got to be registered to vote. So I want to emphasize the importance of making the preparations to be able to go out and vote. And let me mention one other thing with regard to be able to go and vote. The day of the vote calls for the willingness to make a sacrifice. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's rearranging your personal schedule. If it involves work, if it involves taking your kids to school, if it involves doing whatever it is, if it involves foregoing some social event after you leave work to go and vote. So I want to emphasize the importance of not only preparing before the day of the vote, but willing to make personal adaptations and modifications in your day of the business of voting so that you can go and cast that ballot. Keep up the good work, Congressman.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor.
You could end the segment. You could wrap it tight, because I know you have to jump off.
Well,
what's your
yes, let me thank you. And I heard the conversation you held with the president and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial. Listen, there is a network of folks, freedom fighters across this nation right now, organizing, mobilizing, doing everything we can to answer the questions, to engage voters, to register people to vote. We are fortunate here in New York City in that there aren't the type of obstacles in our way to voting. But one thing I would say to New York voters is check on your voter registration. Every now and then, the Board of Elections will purge their voter rolls. And as a result, you may have voted in the last elections, but for whatever reason, your name does not appear on the rolls right now. Between now and November 3rd, everyone should make sure that they are prepared, that they know that they are on the voter rolls, and then go out and exercise their right to vote. You don't have to show up at the Board of Elections to check on your voter registration. That can be done online. But I want to make sure that those who have registered, that you are prepared to cast your ballot on November 3rd. As I stated, across this nation, we are working state by state to make sure that our people have whatever documentation may be required. You know, we're again fortunate in New York, but in other parts of the United States, IDs are required. And we are really in a battle against an existential threat that we know is now governing the United States of America. It is up to us. A democracy only works if the people stand up and govern. And this is our moment. At the end of the day, we know that Donald Trump and those who support him are quite comfortable with one party rule. They are sliding us into an authoritarian state. We cannot allow that to happen on our watch. Our children and grandchildren deserve much more from us. Let us not only take ourselves to the polls, let us take our children who are eligible to vote, 18 years and older, our seniors who may need a ride to the poll. Let us get everyone we know, and let's use our influence. Many of us have relatives and friends that live in other states, primarily in the South, where the vast majority of Black people live in the United States of America. Let us use our influence, encourage them in this moment, because that is where our communities have been targeted the hardest by this administration to suppress their ability to vote and declare their preferences. And it's all in an attempt, again, to keep Donald Trump and his crew, if you will, in office so that they can, again, govern this nation under a white supremacist banner that does not respect the integrity, the human dignity, and the contributions that we all make to making this nation one of the greatest nations ever. This is an experiment. We are a very young nation compared to nations around the world, only 250 years old. The Lord is not done with us yet, but we got to do the work. We have to be the ones to step forward and make sure that we stay the course of democracy and that we create the opportunities through the people we elect to office to make sure that all of our interests are covered and that we create pathways and corridors for a greater tomorrow. So I want to encourage you in this moment. We have the power. We just have to unleash it.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming back to the Reset Talk Show. The information is pivotal. The time is now. And like you said, we all have to band together and make this happen. Once again, I want to thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well, Congresswoman. Dr. Griffith, I say this all the time. Don Teller, you're here as well. It's so important that we collaborate. It's so important that we lean in. It's so important that we, connect the dots. It was so important for us to have two powerhouses on this morning in Democratic Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and the president and the CEO of the National Urban League, speaking directly to our audience. I was saying, tell a friend to tell a friend. Now more than ever, we need to lean in. We need to collaborate. I can't thank you enough, Dr. Griffith. Can't thank you enough, Dr. Giddings and Donatella, for your contributions, to our community and the country. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going across the world to Guyana, South America, and we're talking about the tragedy, MV Burima. We'll take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be talking with MP Dexter Todd and Nigel London of Forward Guyana Movement. We will take a commercial break, and we will be right back.
At Roger Victor Archibald Civil Rights and Personal Injury Attorneys, we are family.
No matter what the case is, we go fight it. If you're looking for justice, you will get it. Roger will treat you like you is VIP. Come join the winning team, cause in this love song we treat you like family. Winning millions for clients since 1991. Family. Working together here as one, yeah. Family. So call us today at 718-237-1111 or visit our website at BrooklynATTY.com. From the shores of the Caribbean to the United States Courthouse, where clients are treated like people and not simply cases. Call us if you have a case involving police brutality, medical malpractice, construction accidents, automobile accidents, and all other personal injuries.
This is attorney Roger Archibald. Call me today at 718-237-1111. We are family.
Whatever your audiology needs are, we are here to help. Our full-time staff includes doctors of audiology, graduate student clinicians. We screen for, diagnose, and treat hearing loss in a diverse population of all ages. We work closely with primary care physicians, otolaryngologists, and other healthcare providers to ensure that we are treating the whole person, not just their hearing.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.
When it was time for my baby's vaccinations, I wasn't sure what to do. There was so much conflicting information, I didn't know what was real. But then I found out that since the 90s, childhood vaccines have saved over 1 million lives and prevented more than 500 million illnesses in children.
And like me, many parents worry. We all want to do what's best for our babies. So I went to my baby's doctor and I asked a lot of questions.
And got the answers I needed. I choose to vaccinate. Ask questions, get answers. Vaccinate.
Welcome back. This is the Reset Talk Show. Up next, we go across the world to Guyana, South America, with our weekly coverage of the MV Burima tragedy. We are being joined this morning by Nigel London of Forward Guyana Movement. We're being joined by Dexter Todd MP Dexter Todd of the APNU. Welcome in, Nigel. Welcome in, Dr. Griffith. I think we'll be joined by the MP shortly. But let me just come over to you, Nigel. On the heels of this tragedy, MV Burima, there was a protest. I think the protest, correct me if I'm wrong, was organized by the opposition parties. Vice President Jack Dio was hosting some outreach, and the protest was something that has been talked about across the internet. What can you tell us?
Thank you so much, JR, and of course to Professor Griffith. I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity to share with you that which is transpiring here in Guyana. And I must always applaud you for your interest in this matter, though you're in the diaspora. The protest that was held yesterday was a direct response to not just the MV Burima tragedy, but in Region 10, we are facing multiple other tragedies. One being that we're the only administrative region in all of Guyana to have no regional chairman, no regional vice chairman, ever since elections were held in September of 2025. In Wisma, in what they classify this country to be this oil-rich economy, persons for the past 7 or 8 days had no potable water. And it's a tragedy to know that so many things are happening. And then, of course, electricity. It's almost a daily occurrence where there's a power outage in Wisma. And even Amelia's ward. And so in Region 10, we were prepared to voice our concerns, to register our disagreement and our disapproval of the manner in which our business is being handled. And so the icing for us would have been the MV Burima tragedy. Because in Linden, we recognize that the PPP doesn't give two, as I say, two hoots about whether people suffer. That's the norm for us. Our normal experience is that we go through trauma. They're young men, Keon Fojane, Ronaldo Peters, both of them were slaughtered by policemen, murdered, and we yet to get justice. And that's a normal experience for us. So yesterday we took to the street because there was an invitation for there to be community outreach by Jagdio and others. And I find it very interesting, JR, that Londoners were invited to meet Bar Jagdio. And when we went and others were there to meet Bar Jagdio, the gate was closed, so they were selecting who could meet this individual. Now, I must say that I don't classify him to be any vice president. Bar Jagdio is Bar Jagdio. He has no other portfolio in my book because Guyana doesn't have a constitution that facilitates anybody being classified exclusively as vice president and being treated as though he's more important than Mark Phillips. So this protest that was held yesterday for Linden was different than most parts of Guyana because we have a plethora, a culmination of so many things. And that is why I would perceive there was such an aggressive response to Bar Jagdio being there, who, by the way, was too afraid to
Did we lose your audio, Nigel? I think we might have lost his audio there for a minute. Audience, we're being joined by MP Dexter Todd of the APNU party. Good morning, Dexter. I have here with me this morning the incomparable Dr. Griffith, who is so well versed when it comes to Guyana. So we're going to have this conversation this morning. Could you add to what Nigel was talking about with the protests in Region 10 yesterday, with the outreach that Vice President Jagdio was having?
Thank you so much. And please allow me to, of course, give very humble regards to Professor, one who is always respected in our community and our country. And of course, regards to Mr. Lon vigorously for what we all believe in. I want to add that the protests definitely was something that people of the community have.
Dr. Griffith, for the second week, we're having internet issues with Guyana. It's it's almost funny. Dr. Griffith, let's lead in for a minute. When we talk about Guyana, when we talk about Region 10, when we talk about people taken to the streets now, is that what's needed? Is that what's most important right now?
Glad to be able to join you again this week, JR. I want to put your question in a broader context. And it's a context that Mr. London began to refer to. The protest is only a manifestation of anger and concern about broader issues. The contemporary tragedy in regards to the Barima is one manifestation of a concern about broader issues. And insofar as those broader issues are concerned, I think it's appropriate in any environment, whether Guyana or Jamaica or the United States, for the people who are part of the constituency directly affected to employ multiple approaches to venting their anger, multiple approaches to bringing the concerns to the fore. And I think protest is an appropriate approach. A protest is an appropriate approach so long as it's civil, so long as the participants take extra efforts to caution the people whose anger is likely to go beyond the boiling point to be able to temper their anger and not be uncivil, not be violent. Now, the Region 10 issue comes in the wake of the continuing saga regarding the Barima. I know you're going to address the Barima at some point, but I wanted to make that essential comment that Region 10 saga is part of a broader contemporary saga involving MV Barima and Region 1.
Dr. Griffith, let's dig in a little bit until Nigel or Dexter rejoin the conversation. Less than 2 weeks ago, MV Barima, the vessel, sunk off the coast of Guyana. Over 100 people perished. The vessel is sitting at the bottom of the ocean right now. And lately, it was said that, hey, we're going to leave the vessel at the bottom of the ocean. But now, after pushback, they're going to consider raising this Barima back to the surface. What do you think is the significance in having that boat, that vessel floated?
Well, JR, I think it's appropriate to make the observation that if you're going to have an investigation of any kind into a tragic incident like what occurred in the Barima, it is necessary to raise the Barima up from the ocean floor. So the idea of contemplating leaving it there as a memorial sanctuary was an idea that was founded on the pillars of foolishness. And I'm glad that the pushback, the advocacy resulted in a decision that should have not been anything but a decision of the first instance to raise that sunken vessel. But JR, permit me to take a step back and to put the broader tragedy in a context. And allow me to do what I did in another program last week, even though I was traveling. And what I like to do is to invoke the name of a gentleman who lived in a neighboring state, lived in New Jersey. A gentleman called Albert Einstein. You might remember that Albert Einstein, after he fled Germany, most of his time in the USA was spent in New Jersey. He led a research team at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. And Einstein had a powerful, simple sentence on his blackboard for many years. I want to read you that sentence and tell you why I'm invoking it in regard to the discussion about the Barima. The sentence on the blackboard went as follows. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. Let me repeat it, JR. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. Now, we know that Einstein was a mathematician and a physicist, but that proposition on his blackboard was not being made in any mathematical way. What he was saying to his research teams is that you've got to figure out what counts, what matters. And sometimes the things that matter don't add up, don't aggregate to a large number. What I want to recommend is, as we have conversations about the MV Barima tragedy, we focus on things other than the numbers that count. things other than the numbers of people who've perished and survived that matter. Let me suggest to you a couple of things that count, that matter in regard to the MV Burima tragedy. Respectful treatment of the victims and the families matters. Respectful treatment of the survivors matters, counts. Especially when some of the surviving families don't have a body to grieve over, to bury, to inter in any place. Think of a family, and I know of one family where not only did the casket being taken back to Port Kaituma sink, 6 members of the families died in that tragedy. Think of what that extended family grief cycle will be. And so the respect has got to be there in every form, tangible and intangible, to enable the people who are recovered, bodies that are recovered, are respectfully treated, and the families of those surviving folks, they are given the due respect. Respect matters. Don't only give them money, buy them off, give them appropriate counseling, give them appropriate support, give them appropriate respect. For me, respect matters, respect counts. Here for me, J.R. and Nigel and Dexter is the second thing that counts, that matters. Accountability matters. Accountability counts. Not only the 3 people who were charged, I and Dexter would know this better than all 3 of us here in this program, 4 of us in this program. How are they able to prove the intent of the 3 people who are charged? Where's the mens rea? And you ask the question, are the operational people are the only ones who are supposed to be held accountable? What about the policymakers? What about the policy practitioners? I am delighted that there's a commission of inquiry. I'm disappointed that the commission of inquiry's discussion formation did not have a broad embrace of the Guyanese leadership. You've got an opposition. Why not embrace the opposition in thinking about how to go about getting this critical element? Accountability matters. Accountability counts. Let me go to a third matter that for me matters, that counts. Inclusiveness, which is partly why I'm disappointed that there was no inclusiveness in contemplating and forming this commission of inquiry. Here is what is likely to happen. The absence of inclusiveness at the front end will undermine the acceptability of the outcome of the commission of inquiry. People are going to be they're already suspicion about the composition, parties. Have the inclusiveness in the embrace as to deal. This is not only a part of Guyana, a one set of people issue. This is a national tragedy. Why not embrace the nation, the nation's leadership, not only in the executive branch and the legislative branch, in the governing party, but there are other people elected to lead. They're called the opposition. I'm disappointed that inclusiveness has not been dramatically demonstrated from the get-go. Inclusiveness counts. Here's something else, and I'll make this the final one and come back later on, J.R. Civil society engagement matters. Faith community engagement counts. I'm delighted that you've had a range of civil society engagement within Guyana and outside Guyana. Because as we all know, the matters affecting our native land affect native landers abroad and at home. And I'm delighted that civil society engagement has been what it is. I'm disappointed that that engagement has not been embraced inclusively enough. Let me make one final. You know, Guyanese always have a final. Here's my final. Passion, anger, outrage given the circumstances counts, matter, should be expected, should be facilitated, should be tolerated by the powers that be. You can't leave the circumstances where all these people die, and under circumstances where so much has been known about the deficiencies of this vessel for so long, and not much done to address it. And things done to address it have now seen the comedy of errors along the way. The vessel bought to replace it cannot be used because the wharf is not worthy of use. And that vessel now is used as a party boat. How can people not be angry over these circumstances? So, remembering Einstein, not everything that can be counted counts, not everything that counts can be counted. Let's ask ourselves, what other than the number of people who were victims counts, matters? I say respect matters, accountability counts, inclusiveness counts, civil society engagement, faith community engagement counts. I'll stop there, JR.
Thank you, Dr. Griffith. Every time you come to the platform and every time you impart your knowledge and your wisdom upon us, it really tells us how fortunate we are to have minds like you around. Dexter, let's lean in on accountability. Let's start there. Could you tell us first about the importance of raising the sunken vessel from the bottom of the ocean and why are only 3 people charged so far in this tragedy?
Thank you. No, I must agree. I must agree 100% with Professor Griffith in relation to the need for accountability. But we must not fail to recognize that we are under a government that will fight at every level for any call to be held accountable. The opportunities were there, and the opportunities are still there for them to demonstrate a level of maturity and to be able to show accountability to the Guyanese people. But I don't believe that they're interested in that. Their entire modus operandi is one who capitalizes on being unaccountable to its people. The thing about it, JR, is that the PPP has gotten away with this level of accountability for many years. And I have seen many commentators have been writing and asking a very important question as to whether our are really ready for a rebellion and to stand up against the PPP. Now we have seen the coming together of a number of political opposition parties, which is, in my mind, a step in the right direction and commendable. But has it catch on enough? Is it catching on enough to our people for them to recognize that if we do not stand up against this government now, then in local colloquial language says cat eat your dinner. Now, everyone who has spoken on the frivolous charges are correct. The two elements which must be present in any criminal charge must be the actus, the mental element, the act, and of course the mens rea, the mental element. totally absent from this. I have said repeatedly that the government is currently violating its own law. I have called on the Guyanese people to review with me the Guyana Shipping Act. And I have said to them very clearly that that act captures not only a broader aspect of marine casualties investigation, but it does capture step by step what one should do when one faces a situation like this. The minister is given the responsibility in relation to identifying a board. Yes, we have the Commission of Inquiries Act, and the president has invoked that and basically has usurped the power of the minister to identify a board or to even involve the court. A lot of persons do not even recognize that the act captures an opportunity for even the court to act as an investigator in this matter when you're dealing with marine casualties. Now, we have listened to, and JR, this is one of the things that I continue to be very embarrassed about. I continue to be embarrassed among my colleagues within the Commonwealth Caribbean and further afield when they themselves have read a lot of Guyana laws, particularly surrounding this situation, and I wanted to know what is really happening. You have a sitting Attorney General who, on his live program, has been talking about the people being intoxicated. When they're drunk, then what do you expect to do? And has failed to even recognize that under the law, section 173 of the act speaks to that if you find a crew member or the captain or any of the crew members being under the influence of alcohol or having used any form of drugs or so forth, there is a penalty for that which is laid out in the act. There is a penalty for that. And the penalty for that act, of course, is a fine, and one could be in prison for, I think the maximum is about 12 months. Now, I am saying that the act in itself makes provision. If you believe that you have evidence of such, then the act lays out where and what you need to do. The act doesn't lead you into the criminal law or the common law because these men are charged with the most indictable offense, a capital offense in our country under the common law, murder. The act doesn't take you there. And so, on all fronts, the government has violated its own law. The state has violated its own law pertaining to marine casualties investigation, and they have jumped into another realm. And it makes me wonder. You know, I represented a few years ago. I represented, I think back then it would have been maybe the largest marine casualties accident on water. And I remember the persons were charged. They weren't charged with murder. The client I represented, who was the boat captain of the speedboat, was charged with manslaughter. And I think we had about 9 persons. I don't believe Guyana remembers that. We had about 9 persons who died, and I was the lawyer who represented. Now, at no point in time was there ever a recommendation for a murder charge. And I can tell you, JR, my client was on bail for the long amount of years before the matter came up. We traveled on the boat together. We went to Essequibo. We, of course, sat in the courtroom, and I defended the matter, and he was acquitted of the charge. He was acquitted of the charges because I pointed out some very key areas to the court as well as the jury in relation to these type of investigations. I know this well because a lot of people don't recognize I grew up in a home where my father was a boat captain. My father was a boat captain for many years before he died. And so I am accustomed to, I know a lot. My older brothers are that's where they started on a lot of vessels around the Caribbean and so on. So I am au fait with a lot of the nitty gritties. I was laughing when one was talking about the issue of who steers the boat and all of that and whites. And I'm like, these people, we really, as Guyanese, need to recognize that the government is way over their reach. They're so incompetent and they are accustomed fooling the Guyanese people. But I believe the time has come when the Guyanese people have become a lot wiser and they have recognized that this is an overreach. It's not only a ridiculous charge, it's an overreach, and a direct attempt to silence the three persons from giving any information at the Commission of Inquiry.
Thank you, Dexter. I want to bring in Nigel for a minute. Do you bear the same sentiments as Dexter, or you see it a little bit different through your lens?
It cannot be seen differently with JR because the law is there to guide Guyanese. I sometimes wonder whether the criminals in the PPP are Guyanese or they will fail with anything that pertains to Guyanese law. When we have a situation where the DPP, I call her name is Ali Haq, is the most pertinent term to address this woman. When she says that she can refer to, and in justifying why 3 African descendants are charged with murder in this situation, she said she has case law to support that accidents would have occurred. And in the UK, for example, someone was charged with murder. Well, I dare Ali Haq to cite one case of that nature. Because in the UK, the case that I found had to do with the captain being, again, he was charged with involuntary manslaughter, recklessness when the ship hit and killed a Filipino. Because there is no way that a logical person can say that someone who's responsible for a vessel is on the vessel. He has no issue with anybody. And then 72 people or 100 people wind up dead, drowned. And the ultimate response is that you have intentionally killed people. Because now, Ali Haq is obviously acting in a manner that is reckless. And I've said this about this woman for years. Even the CCJ's president had to upbraid Ali Haq and remind her that your position requires a particular degree of responsibility, ma'am. You can't be so reckless with what you say and how you behave. Now, can you imagine, JR and viewers, that at the Caribbean Court of Justice, the president, the former president, had to tell our director of public prosecution how to behave herself, and let her know she's being reckless in how she speaks. You just can't say, well, basically what you think in certain critical matters would be most important. So these 3 men, brothers, are being held, their families are suffering, and Edgil is an Indar should be more culpable than anybody else. Because if he's responsible for the maritime administration, and Indar would have had to have oversight of whether the MV Burima is seaworthy. Let him show us where he said that the vessel was seaworthy or not. But you see, what I've discovered in the PPP, JR, is that this is not the first time. With the Madhya fire that killed 20 of our children, there was a commission as well, And that commission arrived at one conclusion, that the only person who's responsible for 20 of our children dying in that fire was the fire chief, or the fire responsible for fire. It wasn't Dharamlal, who would have had the portfolio of being Minister of Local Government and Regional Development with direct responsibility for the dams in terms of its upkeep. And they were warned that the dams is a fire hazard. It would kill people if any fire breaks out because of the cages. It wasn't him. The REO was in no way responsible. The dom's mother who locked the door according to reports and left. She wasn't responsible either. So this is normal behavior for these people. And we require the likes of our brother Dexter Todd to fight them, but from the civilian end or the unlearned end, as some may want to put it, our responsibility is to ensure that the PPP is very uncomfortable until those 3 men are out of prison. They have to let them go. Because if you're going to tell me that you could look at 3 men and say because you had some narcotic in your system or because you drink rum, you murder people, Alan needs to have his head checked. And we are going to ensure that they are comfortable.
I just wanted to check for a minute because Dexter said something earlier in the conversation. I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the Guyanese citizens are not up in arms the way they're supposed to be up in arms, and he would like to see more of a response from the Guyanese citizens. What are your thoughts? Do you agree, or would you add a different twist?
Well, I think Lyndon's response yesterday, along with those of brothers and sisters who came from out of town, has begun to indicate to the PPP that we're turning the temperature up. And before, as I say, not too long from now, they'll be extremely uncomfortable. Because I'm saying to all and sundry that I prefer to be dead than to be in a country where something like this happens and people could be as brash, arrogant, and disrespectful as Mark Phillips and Van Edgel. And it's just an ordinary day where a Fanalian bar jagged could behave as though we are still in the days where when Christopher Columbus came here and he offered beads and buttons, he could offer people a black tank or offer them a contract or give them a promise of a boat and engine, and this thing just dies away because the Amerindian people, as they call them, they classify them as buck people. They don't have sense. So we could be responsible for the death of so many of you, especially your children, and all you're worth is a promise of some money. We have to ensure that this administration is most uncomfortable. And I believe, especially with Gen Z and this group that are here, a good awakening, because Guyanese have looked at the case that our brother Dexter Todd MP is handling right now and say, hold on, tell me you could charge these 3 men for murder? Like this, that's the extent to which you're prepared to go to cover your own people in terms of Edgel and Indar. You never say, man, let's knock them off or fire them or something. And no, you go straight to the apex, murder. So you send a message. And then now, yesterday, they send the army to us. We got invited to a meeting because I'm a Londoner too. And I said, if you have Azadin Mohammed and you have 7 other members of parliament, they were elected or selected to represent the people. So if there's a meeting in here, we want them to go and talk for us. And the police were told to tell us that we cannot go. Well, I said, well, hold on. I own Matuka Guest Houses Guyanese because it's owned by NISIL. I own the road because it's owned by me. I own the gate. So you can't tell me I can't pass here. Sorry for my passion, JR, but I'm just saying the truth. I was livid. And I said, you cannot tell me I can't go into this building here. So we went in. They sent the army with AK-47 assault rifles. They couldn't send a boat in half an hour to go look for the people in Viburima, but boats are plying up and down the river. The army boat, the police boat. That's how sick helicopter came to London. They couldn't have the helicopters to search for survivors. But they could dedicate state resources to try to threaten us. Well, I'm sending a message to the PVP right here today. You could try what you want. I prefer to be dead, and all you are scared to death. That's why you're so soft. I ain't frightened dead. They're to make for cat and dog alone. All of us can go down in this together because you've done too much to people of Guyana. You've done more than enough. And if those 3 men don't walk free, Guyana will be a very uncomfortable place.
I got to tell you, Nigel, we are leaning in on this story because we out here in the diaspora, we need to know exactly what's happening. And hearing your passion, okay, it says a lot. And now we're gonna come back over to Dexter after I let the professor jump in here for a minute and pose a question. But the question remains for me, Dexter, and I would like you to answer this before we jump off. The significance of raising that vessel. Okay, what lies in it? What story does it tell? Okay, but Professor, jump in for a minute.
I don't want to pose a question. I want to make a comment. I want to make a comment related to something that Nigel said. A significant number of the victims in that tragedy of our first peoples, Amerindian people. But I think it's important to broaden the national horizon to see that this is a tragedy that may significantly affect Region 1 insofar as a personal are concerned, but it's a national tragedy. There are so many elements in that tragedy matrix that it is not a geographically confined tragedy. It's an administrative tragedy with many dimensions. And as I think of the national scope of this issue and the necessity for outrage and anger to be vented, I thought of Martin Carter. Martin Carter wrote a poem in 1954, which I have used most recently in my book on Guyana's oil and climate change. And I want to read you what Martin Carter said there that I think resonates with this national tragedy. The poem he wrote in 1954 is called You Are Involved. This I have learned, today a speck, tomorrow a hero. Hero or monster, you are consumed. Like a jig shakes the loom, like a web is spun the pattern, all are involved, all are consumed. This is not a Region 1, an Amerindian, about people or First Peoples problem only. This is a national consuming issue because the variables have to do with politics and practices. Variables have to do with corruption and accountability. The variable has to do with criminality in high and low places. This is an all-consuming tragedy. And when Nigel mentioned the indigenous people, I thought I would share that observation. But let me pose a question now that you've given the opportunity to take the floor. It's 30 seconds. Guyanese 30 seconds, like a minute. I would welcome hearing from Nigel and Dexter. What is the opposition game plan for the Commission of Inquiry? I know there are very many proposals about the parallel commissions of inquiry. What is the thinking of you gentlemen regarding commissions of inquiry? No, this one is established, it'll be doing its work. They name a secretary, work's supposed to begin, but I'd welcome hearing what your thoughts are on the notion of a commission of inquiry. What's the opposition game plan?
Thank you so much, Professor. I'm not sure whether Dr. Todd would like for me to speak first. I'm speaking anyway. I'm of the view that in the light of as I said, they had the commission for the Mahdia fire. We saw what became of that. Not even a cockroach is in jail or charged. In this situation, I'm saying there should not be this commission, as Ali would have that he presented to us, should not be allowed to function. So it's not a case whereby we're going to have normal business conducted in Guyana anymore. They must not have a chance to function. If it means that we have to protest and stand passionately, resolutely, and in the thousands to prevent them from functioning, they must not function. Irfan Ali must be brought to state that he spoke to, which is that he must include all. They must be bipartisanship. There must be respect and regard for all. We have the likes of Amanza Walton Desir, who is one of the most brilliant in reference to the maritime and so on sphere. And they have totally rejected, even considering her to function in this space called this commission, because they know what they intend to do. And I'm in reference to the opposition tone right now in the Guyana. is that it is not going to be a very popular term they're using now, business as usual. Nothing is going to just bypass us or fly past us nowadays. So it's likely that this commission will not have a day to function at peace or in peace.
Dexter?
I wish to add to that. I totally support Mr. London's view in relation to where the opposition parties should stand on that. Um, I believe that this is also a discussion that comes up again on our agenda as members of parliament today in another 2 hours or so in relation to our unified approach to this. But I believe that where we're heading is a more comfortable position, just as Nigel said, in relation to really demonstrating at various higher levels our discomfort with the not only the compilation of the commission, but also of the extent of their work. Now, the terms of reference was gazetted, so we now have available the terms of reference of the commission. I do have, from a legal standpoint, and which I do intend to present to the other members of parliament, some serious legal concerns in relation to the terms of reference and whether the commissioners will comfortably be able to engage on this level in terms of the terms of reference. Particularly so, I believe that Darren Wade as well was correct on a point that he made. I had made this point at the first hearing of the court matter, where I said that the commission, while operating as a separate body, totally separated from the court, they are very important matters which the court is now seized with that responsibility for criminal proceedings, which the Commission of Inquiry, the commissioners, will not be able to venture into. And I see it laid out because we do have the principle of sub judice, that where you have a court which is comfortably dealing with a particular matter, no other authority would have coverage to interfere. Now, the most important people to begin to, well, witnesses who will have to outline exactly what happened minutes and immediately after on the 18th of July before the capsizing will clearly be the crew members who are alive. Now, where you have a serious concern of incrimination, of interrogation, while you have an opportunity, while you have them faced with charges in a substantive court, two legal issues arises. One, whether a court will permit that type of investigation at that level. And two, whether the persons should invoke their rights to remain silent so as to not incriminate themselves any further. So whether you jump on any limb, you have serious concerns which touches the most important terms of reference of the commission. So whether the commission will be able to work properly is not only from a political standpoint, but from a legal standpoint, we have serious trouble. We have serious troubles with this commission.
Thank you, Dexter. Uh, Professor Griffith, I want to commend you on your question to both Dexter and Nigel. Why? Because what we're witnessing, okay, what we're experiencing is a good discourse between the opposition parties. This is how it should be. We should be able to have a discourse, okay, where the viewing public in the diaspora is able to get angles and perspectives from everyone. This is all we've been asking for. And Dexter, Nigel, I commend you for taking time out of your day to come to the Reset Talk Show. I never go into battle without the general, and we're talking about Professor Griffith, because his knowledge, when you read his books, when you listen to him, you know that he has a wealth of knowledge about Guyana, about the terrain of Guyana. So, our international segment is about Guyana maybe for the next couple of weeks as we see what happens. And we will continue to do what we do best. And Nigel and Dexter, I really want you guys to take time out to come and let, the diaspora know, what you're all about. I want to say something, and this is not boasting or bragging, but just the MV Barima episodes on the Reset Talk Show, we have gotten over 200,000 viewers. That means people want information. People want information. And this segment has generated that. So I'm going to ask you guys for your parting message today. Please take a minute, because we want to make sure that we are off at 12 noon. So let's start with you, Nigel, followed by you, Dexter. I want to bring in Donatella. She's still there. And give us your closing remarks for today.
Thank you as always, JR, and to these noble gentlemen who shared the panel with me. And I'm humbled and I'm honored. To my brothers and sisters at home and abroad, let us find within our hearts the need to fight, the need to stand. And interestingly, in the month of August, the first that they've deemed to be Emancipation Day, let us remember that our forefathers, those of us who are of African descent, our forefathers never got freedom by negotiations and talk. So we're about to stand, and we're about to do exactly what we have to do to ensure that we are free from a cabal of criminals. Thank you so much. Do well.
Thank you, Nigel. Dexter, your closing remarks.
Thank you. I want to say not only that I'm grateful for the opportunity to share on this program and to update thousands of Guyanese and other members around the world what is happening. But I want to particularly speak to Guyanese. And I want to say that you need to be very careful with the level of distractions that we are seeing. I believe one of the ways of overcoming those distractions is to become very educated. Understand what government's role is, understand what government is supposed to do, and do not make it seem as though they're handing you or they're doing you a favor. Fixing the many problems, as we have had yesterday in Linden, the government going in to make it seem as though we're coming to fix the thousands of problems that you have. Those things don't need an outreach. You should have systems, offices, institutions, organizations, ministries, however you want to look at it, working. And one of the most important things that we must always remember, it is the PPP's government which has crippled local democracy. They have stymied every single opportunity for local democracy to work. So really and truly, those problems that you're seeing in your communities, those should have been fixed through your RDCs. Those should have been fixed through your NDCs. But you've seen that government have centralized its power, its spending, its operation. And so the evidence is very clear of a government who is more dictatorial than really trying to promote health and democracy. And so we must wake up and recognize that what they're doing now is a distraction. And they're trying to persuade you that what has happened, over 100 lives which have been lost on the sea, is not, they are not responsible for it, and it's not under their watch. They want you to make it easy for them. But we need to join together and recognize, as we hold this government accountable for the amount of deaths on the sea. It's not a day that will be usual for them. What we are doing is demonstrating that the call for this is an important one. And so all of you must stop being behind your computers only, being on your phones. And it is time for you to come out. We need to see more of a united front in relation to our people. You have called for the parties to combine. You have called for the parties to stand together. Now they have, they are. And my question is, we need you now. We need you now to come out and to make the change, which is now. Now is the time for the change. And we are going to stand with you as we see a brighter and a better Guyana for the future.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you so much. Again, I want to thank both you and Nigel for lending your time to this platform. We have dedicated an hour for World News over the last 3 weeks, and we will continue to do that. Donatella, your closing remarks.
Audio.
Thank you. It's very rarely that you can't hear me talking. I like to chat a lot. But I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us on the Reset Talk Show, where today's headlines become tomorrow's conversations. We appreciate our guests, as you heard, JR, our audience, and each person who continues to make this platform a place for thoughtful dialogue. Don't forget, the important part is to like, subscribe, and share the broadcast. Until next Wednesday, I'm wishing you peace, purpose, keep seeking the truth, and never underestimate the power of one informed voice. God bless you, and we'll see you next time on RTS.
Thank you, Donatella. Before your closing remarks, Dr. Griffith, yesterday was Barack Obama's 65th birthday. I call him the people's choice when we talk about presidents of the United States. So I really want to take time out to wish the former president, the 44th president of the United States, a happy birthday. Your closing remarks.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. I'm going to simply thank you for the opportunity to contribute my observations and questions. Thank our viewers and listeners, and thank the guests, Nigel and Dexter, and other regular panelists. I was not able to join earlier, had to deal with my physical therapy. But I simply wanted to leave those words I invoked from Albert Einstein in regard to the Berima circumstance. Guyanese and others of interest in Guyana's affairs need to remember the words of Albert Einstein. Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. And focus on the things that count, that matter, not only the number of victims. Be mindful of the accountability that matters. Be mindful of the inclusiveness and the respect and the civil society engagement. Be mindful that the circumstances would naturally evoke anger and passion, not only because lives have been lost, but because of the cumulative impact of the circumstances that led to the lives being lost. circumstances that could have been avoided. Have a wonderful rest of the week, J.R.
Thank you, Dr. Griffith. Thank you so much, as always. Like I said, when you talk, we listen. Audience, first, I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank Dr. Giddings, Donatella, and then, of course, the contributors. We had some powerhouses here today in the President and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial. It's so important for us to touch on all the trending stories. And of course, he spoke about where we are in this country with war and politics. And then he spoke about Nolan Wells. And, if we as a people can't recognize that there's a time for us to stand together, we will continue to fail. I can't thank the Congresswoman, who is also the chair of the National Black Caucus. She was here. She also strengthened the position with Nolan Wells and his family. And hopefully we'll be able to get Ben Crump or one of the parents of Nolan Wells to this platform. So, tell a friend to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we build that now. We're great on all the other platforms, but YouTube is key, and that's the Reset Talk Show NY on YouTube. I want to thank you for trusting us and letting us come into your homes every Wednesday. Follow us on all of our online platforms. See you next Wednesday, same time, same channel, same platform. 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Drinking alcohol increases the risk of several types of cancer, including breast, colon, and throat cancer. Drinking less can lower your risk. You deserve to know the truth about alcohol and cancer. Get the facts. Visit nyc.gov/alcohol.